How's everybody doing today? And welcome to episode 8 of Truth in Trucking. Woohoo! I'm your host, Harold, with Prestige Trucking Insurance, and George here
with HCM Integrity Services.
And we're here to keep you informed and teach you and guide you and give you the wisdom you need to have a safe, profitable trucking company.
Successful business, guys. Very important. Stay safe, stay informed, and stay compliant. That's what we're here to do. Like Harold says, I'm George with HCM Integrity Services. You guys probably already know that. And we are an FMCSA and DOT compliance center. Harold here is the insurance expert. He's on behalf of Prestige Trucking, but he also runs Untouchable Trucking Insurance. So check that out when you have. If you want to get some good rates, check that out, guys. Today's episode number 8 is
Unscheduled truck.
Oh man. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm a Miami guy, and down in Miami style, they don't like to put trucks on insurance for some reason until something happens. So, and I'm sure it's not a Miami thing, but I'm pretty sure that happens all around the country. Something that it's a big no-no, guys. You cannot have trucks out there that are not scheduled on the insurance policy.
And we're going to get into unscheduled trucks and double brokering.
Wow, double brokering. So that's a hot topic.
I think we kind of covered or give you a taste of it right now. So what is an unscheduled truck? An unscheduled truck is a truck that is not on your insurance policy. Plain and simple. What is an unscheduled driver? A driver who is not on your insurance policy. So on your DOT, as an insurance company, they insure the DOT, they insure the VIN number of the truck, and they insure the driver's license. So using those 3 numbers, those are the only ones that are allowed to drive or operate your trucks. Now, if you want to add another truck on, I've had guys come in, they get insurance, they get all excited, they're going to have a fleet of trucks. They think because they have an authority now that they can go out and put another truck on. But if you just gave me $18,000 for your truck and you're going to add another truck on there, you're going to give me another $18,000. Just because you have an active authority doesn't mean that truck can come on board your company and run virtually not having insurance. You got to realize one thing. The FMCSA makes everybody have insurance for one purpose. It's for public safety. So that's the only purpose. They don't care about your cargo insurance. They don't care about your physical damage. They care about your auto liability. And just to make things simple for all you guys out there, anytime you see insurance that has liability on the end of it, like general liability, auto liability, that is not for you to get one penny out of it. That insurance is just for people to sue you. That's the only purpose of it.
Wow. So question about that. So, I would think that if I'm, adding trucks, that I wouldn't have to pay the same amount for every truck. So what is there not like a discount? Is there not?
Well, first of all, everybody wants to grow fast, right? But the insurance companies have so much data and so much information about guys growing too fast. And usually if guys grow too fast, guess what happens? They flail. You get one truck done, you got to make sure you get all the rules and regulations. You got to make sure the guy's doing the hours of service right, making sure he's using his ELD. You got to put all these in perspective. So most people, when they sit there and they try to put 10 trucks in, they're not able to do that. And that's where the problem comes into. That's when people become uncompliant. Most companies, if you're a brand new venture, they don't want to see you grow more than 1 or 2 trucks in the year. So that means you can get 1 truck and maybe add a couple more trucks on. But you got to buy the insurance for it. Now, the insurance is prorated per the months that are left in the term. So if you buy your insurance, let's say it's September right now, and you add another good driver on in 6 months, you're probably going to pay half the amount of insurance that you had to pay there. You still got to put a down payment down. So don't be surprised when your insurance agent says, okay, how do you want to pay this? And you go, oh, I thought it was free because I have an authority. Doesn't work that way. Every truck has to have insurance. Every driver has to be approved by the insurance company in order to drive. You just can't add your best friend on the truck. It has to have an endorsement to add onto the insurance. So that is one of the biggest things. Now, that being said, you got companies like, well, we won't mention any companies because I don't want to get in trouble but the fact is, companies do what they call ongoing underwriting. What does that mean to us as drivers? I don't care about that they're underwriting me. I'm driving and doing my thing. I don't care. What it means is when you have a truck show up on your DOT, and I can see every truck that's ever been inspected under your DOT. I can put your VIN number. I can tell you what DOTs that truck's been under. So the point I'm trying to say is if you have your DOT, the only truck that should be inspected under that DOT is yours. If you have a Peterbilt and all of a sudden you have a Kenworth on there and an International on there and another truck on there and you haven't increased your insurance in any way, shape, or form, guess what happens? The insurance company will go, Mr. Truck Driver, what's the deal with these trucks? Now, some companies, again, we won't mention those companies, will give you 30 days and shut you down. No ifs, no ands, no buts. Now, some companies will sit there and go, okay, this is when we caught your truck on the road. You're going to owe us insurance back to that day. So let's say, for instance, they caught you 2 months ago. The insurance company goes, okay, you owe us this money for 2 months or I'm going to shut you down. And we all know, all the insurance company does is put a letter of cancellation out. You get 35 days. Now you got to go out and try to find insurance. One thing you want to realize is insurance companies don't like midterm changes. What's a midterm change? That means out of your 12-month cycle that you have insurance, you decide you want to go get insurance. And because you want a lower price is not a good reason for a midterm change. There are some companies, 2 or 3 of them, that really don't care about midterm change. They take as much business as they can, right? On the other hand, the companies that do look at it and go, why are you doing a midterm change? All because of price. They'll immediately decline you right off the bat. So you have to be careful just because with one company that costs $25,000 just for auto liability for your first year, and I can get you insurance with somebody else that may only charge you $18,000. You can't go to that company; they won't accept it. And companies don't like that because, first of all, there's a lot of work behind getting insurance for everybody. And when an underwriter takes his time to write your policy and sits in and qualifies you to have insurance, they want to get paid a certain amount. So they want to either see 25% what they call earned premium. So if you sit there and get a policy and at the end of the month you want to cancel it, well, they want 25% of that premium. So that means if you just spent $20,000 on premium, they want at least to make $5,000 before you leave.
Wow.
And in the contract, it says 25% earned premium. I have to disclose that to you. Your agent should disclose that to you. So just keep that in mind. But that being said, I said I'd talk about a little bit about double brokering. This happens a lot with Amazon drivers. And what they do is they'll double broker and they'll take their DOT numbers and put it on another truck that has insurance. And so they don't have to buy the insurance. But they think it's covered under that insurance. The problem is, remember what I told you? We do DOT numbers. We do VIN numbers. And
We do driver's license.
So if I put my DOT number on George's truck, and I have him pick up a load from me, that load, that bill of lading has my DOT number. But that guy has a DOT number. So his DOT technically is not responsible for it. But on the other hand, my DOT is responsible for it. But now you just opened a can of worms up. Insurance companies don't like to have multiple risks. What I mean by that, if George is carrying my load with my DOT number, the insurance company is going to pay if George gets in an accident with my DOT number. But they're going to come back to me and they're going to sue me for what they had to pay out for George's claim. And you're not supposed to work under other people's DOT number with your DOT. Now, I'm not saying you can't pick up a load, but when you pick up the load is under your DOT number and not my DOT number. So I go, George, I can give you this load, or I need an extra driver, or I need another company. But George is going to pick it up under his number. You don't want that liability. If he gets in an accident, his insurance pays for it. My insurance is going to pay for me. But as soon as I put my numbers on his truck, what have I just done? I just made another unscheduled truck. And I'm sitting there double brokering, and Amazon does not put up with double brokering because of this particular reason. It is not a good thing for either party. You're both are going to either lose your contract with Amazon, you're going to sit there and cost someone some money. I actually had somebody, they rolled a truck, he was hauling the load for someone else, another DOT. Is he responsible for it? Yes, because it's his DOT. But the guy was running under his DOT, under his insurance. So I, or the guy over here, didn't have insurance on that truck. And I can't buy insurance on that truck if that truck already has insurance on it. I can't put two risks on one truck.
But, one thing I want to ask too is, first, what happens if you, I kind of know already what would happen, but if you have an unscheduled vehicle and they get into an accident, are they covered? Is there what happens?
That's it. I did mention a little bit earlier. What happens is, because the insurance company is responsible for that DOT number, they'll pay the claim.
Really?
But whatever claim they paid out, they're going to come back and sue me for. So they're just going to put me out of business. If I got $1 million claim out there, I'm out of business. And we already talked about chameleons a few weeks back.
Yep.
So being a chameleon is not a good idea either. And now it's getting harder to become a chameleon if that's what you're trying to do.
Yep. And what about, I heard now that there's some insurance companies, in order to help with not being so expensive, they're actually like excluding certain states. So they'll give you a good policy, but they won't accept drivers from certain states. Can you elaborate on that? Or is that...
Well, what happens is those are, quote, what they call underwriting guidelines. So there's a few companies that don't like the Northeast corridor. And when I say the Northeast, they don't like New York, they don't like New Jersey, they don't like Rhode Island, Connecticut. They don't like anybody to drive up in that area.
So no matter how many years they had with their CDL,
it doesn't matter.
They just won't won't accept a driver from that.
If that driver from New Jersey, and I've had this happen, has a New Jersey license, hasn't changed yet, but actually has a residence in Florida, they'll look at that.
Okay.
But they're going to expect them to change the
license
eventually.
Okay.
So those are items that, like I said, double brokering, and it's almost the same thing as running an unscheduled truck. And like I said, you can't hide it. If you get inspected, I can see it. If I can see it, the the insurance company can see it, and they can probably see more than I can see it. So you have to realize you cannot run unscheduled trucks. You cannot run unscheduled, double brokering, because it will catch up with you eventually. If that guy gets sued, he's going to get sued because he had insurance on his truck. You're just making the attorneys richer. That's all you're doing. And then the other guy's insurance is going to have to pay. And both of them are going to have to pay back the insurance companies.
Wow, that's crazy. So, yeah, I've seen one of the things that that I wanted to talk about was that the reasons why people will have trucks that are not scheduled on their insurance. And one of the reasons that I think, and it's not a valid reason and it's not to justify, but I hear a lot of guys out there say, oh, well, it's too expensive. And every time I add a truck, it's $18,000, $20,000, whatever the case may be. And that's why they're not doing it. That's not a reason, guys. It's not an excuse. God forbid something happens and there's a death involved in an accident. Okay. The other thing is you guys need to be very aware that there are companies that will hire you as an owner operator, charge you a monthly fee for having insurance, but you're really not on the insurance policy. So you should always check and confirm that your vehicle, because if you're an owner operator and something happens and you were not covered under that company's insurance, that's going to be an issue. And I
can elaborate a little bit on that. So usually if you're going to run under someone's DOT, the first thing you need to make sure you have a lease on agreement. That lease on agreement should sit there and tell you what he's covering.
Yeah. Who's responsible?
Who's responsible for what, when, and where. Most companies, they'll pay the auto liability and they'll pay the cargo while they're operating under their DOT. When they're on duty, they're paying for that. Now, usually, if it's really a legitimate company, they'll tell you, you got to go get like a bobtail insurance or a non-trucking liability policy. And I'm not going to be responsible for your physical damage in your truck. So physical damage is on the truck. If I get in an accident, I damage the truck, it's covered. So while I'm working, even on duty, it's going to cover my truck if I get damaged. Now, the non-trucking liability is only when you're off duty from that company. Non-trucking liability will allow you to pull a trailer empty. If it's full, you're on duty. If it's full and you're not pulling for that guy, you're violating every rule in the book when you're running a full truck. So those are things you want to keep in mind. And keep in mind, like I said, if you're going to work under someone else's DOT, make sure that you have a lease agreement. And once that lease agreement will tell you whether you have to have non-trucking liability or not. If they're telling that you don't have to have non-trucking liability, they're pretty much going to cover you the whole time you're driving your truck. That's up to them to do that.
That's right. And make sure that that's on that lease agreement. A lot of guys don't read it. But you need to make sure that you read that lease agreement and that it's going to state what you're responsible for and what they're responsible for.
Okay, there's actually a section. It should be a section. Now, I've seen lease agreements that don't have any requirements there. And that's because the trucking company is usually doing something not above board.
That's right.
And I've seen guys go out there, well, I got 5 trucks in this thing, but it's only showing 1 truck on the DOT. Well, guess what? Even though you're leased on truck, you should be on his DOT as a driver and a truck.
Yeah, and so guys, try to stay away from not scheduling these trucks, having unscheduled vehicles. You want to stay away from that. And is there anything else that you wanted to?
No, the only thing I could say is if you have questions or you don't know, you can always contact us.
That's right.
And we'll be more than happy to help you. I don't want to see anybody that doesn't understand how the trucking industry works hurt themselves. The problem is that the reason why a lot of times your insurance rates are up nowadays because all the illegal activity that's going on around. So the more illegal stuff that's going around, the higher your rates are going to be.
That's right.
And those are one things you want to keep in mind. And another day we'll talk about other things that will affect your rate as well too.
That's right. And I want to mention, if you guys, the lease agreement that Harold was talking about, we have sample lease agreements, templates that you can use. We'll give it to you for free. Just comment below, request a lease agreement, and we'll be more than happy to send it to you. We do recommend that you consult with an attorney, make sure the verbiage is right. Make sure the verbiage meets what you as a company want to have in there. May have them glance over it. I don't think attorneys are going to charge that much to look over it and kind of change it for your, to your what you need to protect yourself. But we'll be more than happy to send you those forms. So once again, guys, just be. I'm sorry. You have something to say?
I keep remembering things. When you lease on to somebody and you have to get non-trucking liability, and they tell you got to get non-trucking liability, you must have a executed lease agreement. If you don't have that executed lease agreement, I, as an insurance agent or broker, cannot sell you a non-trucking liability policy. Now, that being said, there's people out there that will sell you a non-trucking liability policy, but if something happens, you're going to end up suing the agent that sold it to you because you were driving a truck and you had a load in the back of the truck and you weren't working on duty. Those things come into place. You must have a signed lease agreement and send it. We keep it in file. And every company, one question they ask you, the last question they ask you before we give you the quote, does the guy have a lease on agreement? And if I say no, then I'm going to be ineligible for it. And everybody's asking for it now.
That's right. And one more last thing that now we're talking about lease agreements. If you are no longer working with that company or your company and you're no longer working with that owner operator, make sure you have a terminated lease agreement. I would even recommend that in the same lease agreement, you have them pre-sign the termination part and don't sign it or date it until the day that they leave. Very important. Why is that important? Because if they're out there using your DOT and they have your signs on that door and something happens, guess what? It's going to come back to your DOT number. But if you have a terminated lease agreement signed and dated, you can use that. You can do a data queue challenge, which will be on another episode when we talk about more about that. And we can help you with that. Reach out to us. We'll help you with a data queue challenge or more information on if you've had someone use your DOT number and they got a violation and it's affecting you, especially during a safety investigation, which was on another episode.
I could talk for another 2 hours.
Yeah, so we got a lot of things to talk about, guys. Leave comments below. Any suggestions, anything that we missed, anything that you experienced that you want to share, please comment below. Again, I'm George with HCM Integrity Services. We're here to keep you safe, informed, and compliant. And this is
Harold with Prestige Trucking, and we appreciate your viewership, and we hope we're actually helping you all.
That's right.
Have a great day, and stay safe.
Thank you for watching. See you next time on the next episode.
Well, that's a big 10-4.